Learn to create the life you deserve and desire with my Couch to Healthy 12-week wellness program. In this program, you'll learn how to create the mindset needed for better health, healthy eating habits, proper exercise using the slow, easy method to burn fat, and some of the best strategies to get and stay motivated. The program is now 50% off for a very limited time. Click on the link in the show notes to learn more. Tired of being single and alone? Ready to have a long lasting, meaningful relationship? Before you do, you'll want to get into what my guest today calls relationship shape. In order to attract the one, you must first be the one. In today's episode, I'm speaking with best selling author and certified relationship coach and expert Roy Biancalana about how you can get into the best relationship shape of your life.
Roy, welcome to the show and thanks so much for being here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Yeah, this is I meant to tell you this cute little story before we started, but I always like to have different guests on here. And the last 2 weeks, I've been thinking I need a relationship person on the show. I haven't had one of those yet, and I had seen your notes before, but it hadn't quite transcribed in my mind. And then when I was reviewing your show notes this morning, I saw, oh, boom, there's my relationship expert. So here we go. So
Let's do
uh,
it.
all in good timing. So, Roy, this is going to be a fascinating talk, and for anyone that is single out there, this is going to be the show for you, the episode for you. And Roy, I first should probably also say I'm one of your perfect clients. Probably I didn't mention that, but before we get into that, I'm curious to know, Roy, because at one point you were a professional golfer, and you have since retired from that and reinvented yourself. And I know so many people come to a crossroads in life, depending on the age, where they no longer want to do this and they have to reinvent themselves, but they struggle. So you obviously did not. How were you able to reinvent yourself, going from professional golfer now to professional relationship coach?
Yeah, it's quite a story and quite a journey. I would say that I've retired from being a professional golfer in the sense that it's no longer the sole obsession of my life, which is what it was. To be at that level, it's like an obsession.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm still a professional, and in the summertime, I still compete in some tournaments, just
Oh, okay.
locally. But I don't travel anymore. I'm not on the tour, so I just play in and around my hometown of Chicago, and still play at a nice high level. So it's still fun.
Oh, okay.
But in reality, there wasn't really a big time switch in the sense that I've always had two major interests in my life. I've always
Right.
been interested in golf and
Okay.
sports performance. And I've always had a spiritual, relational interest also. Since maybe my late teenage years, I became interested in spirituality and myself and relationships, emotions, and that kind of stuff. So these have been dual tracks that have been going on in my life. And when I
Oh,
did get to the point where I was in my mid 40s and I was, quote, past my prime in the golf world,
right.
then this relationship passion, there is no prime to that, you could say, that took more of the center stage, and since then I've written 3 books and I have my podcast and so forth. But yeah, it's been quite a journey, and who knows what the future holds.
Yeah. So was it a matter of just kind of following that internal guidance, that internal compass then, and you just happen to have it pointing in two directions, and the early part of life was golf, and now the later part of life is as a relationship coach?
Yeah, it was that. And right when I was finishing golf is when my love life and my personal life really fell apart. I mean, that's really how I became a coach. I never really set out to be a coach per se, even though I had interest in the topic. But I went through a divorce, right? And then I rebounded into another relationship right away. So I tell people, I've made every mistake in the book you can possibly make, right? So
I don't know about that.
yeah,
I
I,
might
I
fight you there.
rebounded without doing any work on myself and got into another relationship. And then we got engaged. And then she broke up with me 6 months before the wedding. And that just destroyed me. And so I hit a type of rock bottom where my professional life has always been relatively successful, but my personal life
Mhm.
really wasn't. And I started to ask some questions like, what's going on? And up until that point, it's sort of funny to say now, it seemed real then, but at that time, I just thought my love life wasn't very good because I just hadn't met the right woman yet. Right. I,
Mhm.
I was convinced that it was my ex-wife and my ex-fiance and then all the crazy women you meet online. It never occurred to me that maybe it had something to do with
Wow.
me, right? It never occurred to me that I was the common denominator in all of these pictures. Um, but I went through enough pain to where it started to occur to me that maybe I'm missing something about myself. Maybe I am sabotaging myself. Maybe I've got blind spots. How might I be responsible for how my love life has gone? And that opening made me want to hire a coach. So I hired a coach myself. And that transformed my life because I discovered that it was me.
Well, it's funny you say that because, I've had a lot of people on this podcast, life coaches and mindset coaches and health coaches, and we
Yep.
all boil down to one thing, it's an inside job. The problem is not out here. The problem is
Right.
inside here in us. And so that's something you discovered. But well, let's dive into this all things relationship and single.
Yeah.
And let's start with your
Sure.
book. So your latest book out, it's called From Single to Love: How to Develop Your Relationship Health. Whoops, that's the title of my show. Let me back
Yeah.
up. Okay, latest book, Relationship Boot Camp, Hardcore Training for Life, Love, and the Pursuit of Intimacy. So I watched one of your intro videos on your website, and you used that phrase, relationship health, that I have never heard of before, and becoming relationship fit. So let's talk a little bit about, the 7 relationship muscles, you call them, and how you get
Yeah.
relationship healthy, I guess. So take it away.
Right. Right. One of my passions is to try to have relationship conversations and do it in a way that is somewhat creative and somewhat relatable. I mean, far too many relationship books and blogs are very much shrink speak. They're very
Okay.
clinical, they're very dry.
Mhm.
And so I wanted to try to communicate these things in a way that people could sort of relate to. So I just started comparing physical fitness to relationship fitness, right? You want to be physically fit. And there are probably 7 areas that you need to focus on in your physical fitness, right? I mean, there's strength training and aerobic training and core and flexibility and nutrition, hydration, and rest.
Yeah,
Well, those are
love that
7 things.
name.
So I
Yeah.
started thinking, I wonder if there's a way to talk about how to be relationally fit, to
Mm.
be ready for something real. And and I've discovered there are probably 7 areas that we need to look at. We need to have those relationship muscles, you could say, be
Yeah.
stronger if we want to be ready for something healthy and sustainable, right? And so one of the metaphors that I bring to these kind of conversations that I think really drives it home is that if you were to imagine that someone, one of the viewers, listeners wanted to do well in a triathlon. Okay. They want to
I'm
really
with you.
compete well and do well in a triathlon. And then imagine that I'm a triathlon coach, which I'm not, of course, but there are triathlon coaches out there.
Mhm,
Okay.
mhm.
But just imagine you come to me, hey, Roy, can you help me be successful because you won the Ironman back in the day and now you're retired coaching people. And I'm like, great, I'd love to help you. And we sit down, we start having conversations and you start asking me about race day strategy. Like, how do I survive in the water? Because it's a frenzy. How do I transition from the water to the bike and the bike to the marathon? And I'm out there all day. So, what do I eat? How much do I eat? And I'm hearing all these questions about the day of the race. And I'm like, okay, these are important questions. But man, this is not what you should be asking me about.
Mhm,
You should be asking me about how do I get myself in shape for this?
mhm.
Because if you're 50 pounds overweight, I don't care how great your race day strategy is, you're not going to make it 50 yards in the water. right?
Right,
So you
right.
got to be in shape to go the distance. So what happens in my job now is people come to me and they ask me race day questions like, where do I go to meet someone? How do I approach them or how do they approach me?
Oh, I
How
got
do I write a good profile? Which profile platforms and which online platform should I use? And when I meet someone, what do I say? Right? They're important questions, but in my experience, that's not what you should be asking. You should be
because
asking,
real quick,
am
let me
am
interrupt.
I in shape
Am I in
for
relationship?
something?
I
Right?
got
Because if
you.
you're not in good shape,
Yeah.
if you're bringing some baggage from your past relationships, when you do bump into somebody special, it's not going to go the distance because you're not ready. So that's my focus as a coach is getting people ready for the mysterious way that life unfolds when you meet someone.
So, how do you get someone to switch them? Because yeah, they are thinking about race day versus getting in relationship shape, as you say. So how do you switch? How do you get them to understand that?
Well, hopefully what I just presented just makes logical sense,
It does, yeah.
right? That if we come from our past relationships that haven't worked out like mine and
And mine.
right. I mean like one of the ways I would say is the divorce rate right now is around 44, 45% the last time I saw.
Yeah.
But I think you probably know the divorce rate of second marriages is significantly higher, right? And that's because people go from one marriage to another and they just think, well, the marriage fell apart because of my partner. They don't necessarily walk away and do some work on themselves. What can I learn from what happened? How could I be a better partner? Do I need to work on my communication skills? Do I need to work on how I handle my emotions and someone else's emotions? Do I need to learn how to let go of the past? Right. So if you don't change yourself, then you're going to go into Groundhog Day. You're just going to get into another relationship and it's going to go the same direction. So those are some of the ways I try to appeal to people to
Mm.
stop focusing on where do I find them and say, what do I need to change within myself so that I am better equipped to connect in a mindful, conscious, more evolved kind of way.
How do I get in relationship shape? So let's
Correct.
explore that a little bit. I know this is talked
Yeah.
about in your book, and again for the listener, definitely check out this book. It's called Relationship Boot Camp, and I'm going to get a copy of this.
Mhm.
Hardcore training for life, love, and the pursuit of intimacy. So you talk about 7 relationship muscles. What are those, and how do we train them? Like what's a relationship push up or a relationship sit up?
Yeah. Yeah.
Get me in
Love it. Love
shape.
it. Right. Well, we don't have time to go through all seven. Let me give you
Okay,
one or
one or two.
two of
Okay,
the juiciest ones.
okay.
Probably, maybe the most important one, and definitely the 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 yuckiest one to deal with, and that is your relationship with your past.
Uh-huh.
Right. Most of us, I make a joke sometimes that the only people that don't have baggage from the past are the little babies in the maternity ward. Okay. So it's like we all have bumps and bruises from our past relationships.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's more severe for other people. There's some trauma in their background, their childhood, right? But all of us have been hurt. We've been deceived. We've been ghosted or gaslighted. We've had weird online experiences. We've been dumped or rejected, right? So we
All the
have
above
this,
here.
right? So when the past, the issue is not that we have a past because we all have a past. The issue is whether that past is still alive in me,
Mhm.
right? It's not just that it happened, is it still happening? And for many of us, the past is still happening, meaning we go out into the world, whether we're meeting people online or otherwise, and because the past is still alive in us, we can be a little guarded. We can have a little suspicion. We can even kind of create a wall around our hearts because walls will keep you safe, but they'll keep you single, right? Nobody can get in to hurt you, but nobody can get in to love you either, right?
Again, right here.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when we have a past and we've been hurt or rejected or betrayed in some way, if we don't learn how to let that go to where it's just something that happened, it's not between us. See, because when you meet someone, I often I try to make it funny so that we don't all weep over these things. Okay. But when you meet someone, it's like a menage a trois from hell, right? It's me and you and my past, and the three of us are in this relationship, right? So
Well, and let,
it's
let me actually real quick interject. And that person is bringing their past in the relationship. There's
yeah, so
actually
it's
four
a
of you.
foursome,
Yeah,
right?
foursome. Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
Right. And so we're not able to meet someone for who they are. We're meeting them through our past. It's like, are you gonna lie to me? Are you gonna hurt me? Are you gonna do what the last person does? And it's very easy to sort of hold a new person accountable for something they haven't done. And it,
Yeah.
it can just make connecting very difficult. And quality people can feel a person's closure. They can feel the fear or the resistance that might make the relationship move slower than it should, or they just feel like, gosh, I don't like, I think we have some chemistry and some connection, but I'm not feeling the openness. It's like I'm experiencing someone, if they can see me, I'm crossing my arms. It's like I meet them, but their arms are crossed across their chest
Yeah.
versus they're meeting me with their arms wide open. Like,
Mm.
I'm open to you. I'm available. Let's play. Right. So, what happens is that we can often start a relationship from the perspective of, I don't trust you. You
Yeah.
have to prove it to me.
Yep. Yep.
Right.
Yep. That's me. That's
You
me.
have to,
That's describing me right
yeah, you have
there.
to demonstrate that you are worthy of my openness. And so you start the relationship from a place of closure. Now
Yeah.
that can be felt, and it's not sexy, right? It's not
Yeah. Wow.
attractive. It
Wow.
might be understandable, right? You've been hurt and stuff like that. But when I'm starting, like, I don't trust you. You have to prove it to me.
Yeah. Yep.
Versus a person who's done the work, which we can't get into here, but there's a whole process I do with my clients on how to let go of the past pain. If you've done that, then you're able to meet a person and say, I trust you. I'm wide open to you. Right.
Mm.
I trust you. I trust the process until the time you show me that I shouldn't. Then I'm going to kick you in the balls and send you down the road. Okay. Right.
Mm.
But the difference is I'm starting from, I'm open to you. I'm available. Let's play. Let's dance. Right. I'm not wanting you to prove something to me because of something that happened that you had nothing to do with.
Yeah.
So starting with that openness and that availability and that playfulness, that's attractive,
Mhm.
right? But then if a person demonstrates that they're not trustworthy, oh yeah, then you get rid of them. But it's a big shift from, nope, you have to earn my trust, to, no, no, I just trust, I'm not trusting you per se. I'm just open to life, right? And that takes a little bit of work. So your relationship muscle to the past, that one you gotta work on
Wow.
because it
Yeah.
will really sabotage you. Does that
You
make
just
sense?
yeah, you just gave me an eye opener because I'm guilty as charged. Pretty much
Yeah,
everything you just said. That is exactly. You have to prove you're worthy of me opening up. Yeah, and that's not
yeah,
for her in the
yeah.
beginning.
And
So
I really want to stress, no shame in that. It's understandable because you probably could share stories of being
oh yeah,
hurt.
oh
So
yeah,
of course there's some scars there,
yeah.
right?
Some
But
baggage. Yeah,
can we let that go? Can we make sense of the past and work it through, find forgiveness for them, for us? These are the things we need so that then I can go forward. And now I'm meeting a new person as if you're the first girlfriend or boyfriend I've ever had. Like, I'm not here with you based on all the other people that have done things to me, right? It's like, no, it's just me and you here. It's just a twosome. It's not a
yeah.
force,
Not a full-
right?
yeah.
It's not right. And that just takes a little bit of work.
Yeah, I think you said that's the relationship letting go muscle, relationship past muscle. So
Right.
can you give us one more muscle, another juicy one for folks?
Yeah. Another one is the relationship to your inner truth, or what I would call the communication muscle, right?
Mm.
Even in my book, I start out a chapter by saying, I think it's like a would you rather question. Would you rather be in a relationship that's characterized by games, manipulation, half truths, withholding, outright deception? Or would you rather be in a relationship that's characterized by authenticity,
Mm.
transparency, openness, and honesty, right? And everyone says, I want the authentic thing until they start to really think about what that actually means,
Mm.
right? To be authentic means, first of all, I know what's going on inside of me, right? I know what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking, what I'm wanting. I'm really present with with where I am and how I'm feeling and my emotions and my thoughts and so forth. Authentic relationship means I am willing to reveal that to you so that I don't keep secrets. Like I call it dating naked. So I'm I'm letting you know what's happening in Royville, right? So I'm not playing the game of I want to come off a certain way. I want to control my image. I want you to know this about me, but not know that about me, right? Um, so let me give you an example. Okay, let's just say you meet somebody online and you text and you go back and forth, and you're finally at your first time you're face to face, right? And you already know enough that you're like, man, our children would be beautiful. It's like you're already into them. You're already like, oh my
I don't
God.
go that far, but I get what
Right.
you're saying.
Right. It's like I'm over here. I want a second date already. I mean, I'm really into this person. Now, do you want to have an authentic relationship? Yes, I do. Tell them that. Say, I know it's the first time we're meeting, and I don't know what you're going to think of this, but I'm totally into you. I'm already hoping for a second date. I just want you to know that's what's happening here. Maybe if you think it's needy, that's okay. Maybe I am. I don't know if I'm needy. I just know that this is what I'm feeling. Like I'm really into you. And even though this is the first meeting, I just want you to know that's what's happening here. Right. That's being authentic. Now, what that does is that is either going to turn on or turn off the other person. They're either going to
Yeah,
like that you aren't playing games. I mean, you're just telling me what you're feeling. And if they like that, that means they want to have that kind of relationship where we're not playing games. I'm just going to tell you I'm not going to try to control how you view me. I'm just going to be real. And then you're going to like it or you're not going to like it. You're going to judge it or you won't. All right. And so you set yourself up on a path for this is kind of how I roll. I mean, this is how I do dating. I'm going to be real. I'm not going to play games. I'm not going to keep secrets. I'm not going to say, I don't want to let them know because then that gives them all the power. And I'm not doing all that stuff. I'm just going to, whatever I'm feeling, you're going to know. The same could be you meet someone first time face to face, they're 15 minutes late. And you're sitting there and you're having a drink and you're like, where are they? And you're just kind
yeah.
of myth. You're just like, oh, geez. I mean, what's
They
7 o'clock? And it's
they get
7:15. They're not here. And finally they walk up. And oh, hi, nice to meet you. It's our first time. I want to let you know that you're 15 minutes late, and it bothers me. I don't like that. I hope that if things continue between us, that if we make an agreement that we'll keep it with each other. If you want authenticity, you would reveal that you're frustrated with them.
you're very blunt. Okay.
Right, because you are feeling that way. But most people would say, "Oh my God, that would turn them off. That would chase them
Yeah.
away."
Yeah.
Right, and you say, "What are you doing?" Well, then you're hiding your reality because you want to control the situation or control how they might think you're neurotic. They might think you're anal. They might all kinds of things, right? But you're just being honest. I noticed I was frustrated with you being late. It didn't feel good. And I would like it not to go that way in the future if we have a future, because I'm excited to meet you. Now, if that's a quality person, they're going to say, you know what? You're right. I am late. I own it. Here's what happened. And I
Mhm.
don't roll that way. Right. You know, and although they could get turned off and say you're being anal and walk away. Right. But that would kind of show you that they aren't a person of their word, in which case you don't want to be in a relationship with a person like that. Right. So there's just some examples of how easy it is for us to pretend. Like one of my favorite ways of describing this is, you know how the government, when they release a top secret document to the
Mhm.
public, they have all the black lines on it.
Yeah,
It's all
exactly.
redacted.
Yeah,
All the good stuff, they don't want to let you see it.
right, right.
I call it redactive dating.
Oh,
We're out in the dating world, and it's like, I just want to show you the parts that I think you're going to like, and I don't want you to see the parts that you might not like, right? And what happens when we do that is people fall in love with the version that we've shown them,
yeah,
and then they begin to find out other parts of us, and then they're like, who are you? I mean, I right? Because we've played a game. We we've just decided, I want to get you to like me, so I'm going to show you the parts that I think you're going to like, and I won't. So I'm not going to let you know that I can be insecure, or that I have a temper, or that I have had my heart broken and I sometimes find it difficult to trust people. I'm just going to hide everything and just be and act and say the things that I think you're going to like. Problem is, you never end up feeling secure in a relationship when you do that,
yeah.
because well, you're just loving the part that I've shown you. If you knew all of me, then, well, I don't know if you would like that. So I just stand for people. Maybe not on the first date, you just kind of roll out everything that's ever happened to you. So I don't misunderstand me. I'm
Mhm.
speaking for the principle of saying, I just want you to know me so that you fall in love with me. And if you like me, warts and all, that, hey, we're in business. Now I can feel secure because I'm not hiding something that I think might be a problem for you. Right. So um yeah, there's tons of different examples with that. But does that make sense?
It does. Well, let me ask you this. So we talked about, letting go of the past and
Mhm,
bringing a fresh version of you, and then we just talked about being authentic. So let's say I've done the work and I am in relationship shape,
mhm.
and I meet a great lady, but she has not done any of the work. So there's two of her coming. How does that work? Like how would someone deal with that situation?
Right. You probably won't find yourself really attracted to a person that is not,
Out of shape relationship wise.
yeah, they're not playing the same game you are, right? You've done some work. You want to relate a certain way. Like, I want to relate authentically. Another muscle is your relationship to your emotions, right? I want to be able to express my emotions. I want to be present for your emotions, right? So the the law of attraction basically means, because there's so much woo woo with it, so much garbage with it, frankly, it just means like attracts like. And so that means that if you want to relate in a conscious, mindful way, in the ways we're talking about, you won't find yourself really attracted to someone that is that wants to play the games, that is coming from a more conventional perspective on things. You just won't resonate, right? It's I often describe it as like, when you want to live consciously and relate consciously, it's like going to a soccer field with a soccer ball on a Saturday morning. It's like, I want to play soccer, and you will attract people who want to play soccer,
Yeah.
right? Person walks up, I want to play basketball. And you're going to say, well, we're incompatible. Though you can't use your hands in soccer, right? The hoop is in the air, and you got to use your hands with basketball. On the soccer, the ball's on the ground. You got to kick it. They're incompatible games. It's like, right. So when you commit to this conscious game, you're saying, this is the way I want to relate. And you will find that you're people that don't want to play that way, which is fine. It won't work because you're on such different wavelengths. You operate differently. I mean, you want to be a revealer. That person wants to be a concealer. You want to be a person who takes responsibility for issues. That person wants to be a blamer. It's always somebody else's fault for what's going on, right? I'm going to blame you for how I feel, right? So people that want to take responsibility and have ownership and not be a victim, they don't relate very well with people who want to be a victim and be blaming everyone for things that happen. You follow
Let me
me?
follow up. Yeah, let me follow up on that real quick. And you've kind of touched on this a lot already in terms of letting go of the past. But you, in your one page note, you talked about this idea of trust. And okay, I was scorned in the past, had my heart broke, and don't want to trust anyone. So moving forward, in order to trust someone, is it kind of what you talked about already? Just not bringing that version of me, letting go of the past and starting fresh anew again.
Yeah, there's an actual process that I do with my clients. There's a three-step process on what it means to actually let go of the past. Because I think most of the listeners right now understand that, yeah, that's important. You really do need to let go of the past. But like, how do I do that? My last three boyfriends, they all cheated on me, or my ex-husband or my ex-wife, right, was doing weird things with our finances, and now I've got some trust issues. How do I let that go? Right? That's what I do as a coach, right? That there's a process of doing that, but it starts with the person recognizing that is a barrier to them being in a good relationship, is that they have trust issues. It is hard for them to be open and available.
Now, let me follow up with one more thing and kind of start to wrap this up as we're getting short on time. But you mentioned about this Groundhog Day issue, and I think so many of us are stuck on that where we are showing up in a new relationship as the old version of ourselves. Is that one of the biggest mistakes then that you see? And then to overcome this Groundhog syndrome, you mentioned is to get in relationship shape, then basically do the work. It's an inside job, it's an inner journey to do the work on yourself before moving forward.
Definitely, definitely. Right. So the Groundhog Day syndrome is basically, I'm pointing to something that most people are familiar with, in that they find themselves attracting the same kinds of people and having the same patterns or problems. It's like, why do I keep attracting narcissists? Or why do I keep getting in relationships that start out great, but then after about 3 months, they just fizzle out? See, most people can point to some kind of pattern, right? And so a lot of my work is helping people understand what's going on within them that is calling forth that pattern. You follow me? So there's a way that we're being in the world that is attracting our playmates and our patterns, because we believe certain things about ourselves and we're relating in certain ways. So just real quick, the narcissist thing, right? Narcissism is feeling like the world revolves around you, right? It's all about me. It's being self-absorbed, right? Two narcissists can't be in the same relationship because they would just beat the hell out of each other, right? No, it's about me. No, it's about me. No, it's about me, right? A narcissist needs someone that will say to them, yes, it is about you, right? They need the empath. They need that unselfish person, the person that maybe doesn't value themselves. They don't think the world revolves around them. They might feel a sense of unworthiness or that they're not important. And so that's a perfect fit for narcissism. Your selflessness allows that person to take up all the space in the relationship. So when people are attracting narcissists and they say, how do I find a good man or a good woman that's not like that? I'm like, no, no, no. It's not about finding that. It's about stop being the kind of person that is attracted to that dynamic. So if you work on finding your self-worth, that you matter, your thoughts, your feelings are important, that you feel like I can take up space in the room, like I'm as good as anyone else, not better, but so if I raise my sense of value, then I'm not attractive to that narcissist anymore, because he or she needs someone who is going to be the reciprocal opposite. Follow me? So it's like cookies and milk and how we attract these patterns. But if you don't ever do that work, oh, I'm going to dump my narcissist. Well, you're going to go attract another one because you haven't changed the thing going on in you that is magnetically calling forth that type of pattern. And that's the Groundhog Day. And that's why the second marriages aren't as successful even as the first ones. Does that make sense?
Does it's an inside job, bottom line, it's an inside job, yeah.
Completely. Right.
Let me ask you one thing I'm curious, and again, I wanna be respectful of your time. Let's say you're already in the relationship, and let's say you both come to the relationship in good, healthy relationship
Mhm.
shape.
Mhm.
What's your, I guess, one tip or piece of advice once you're actually in the relationship to maintain a healthy relationship?
Yeah, I would say for couples to really verbalize and perhaps even put on paper some of the principles that they want to govern their lives by. Like I've created something called the dating manifesto. I did a couple of podcasts on this even. The dating manifesto is a list of 10 commitments of for conscious living and conscious loving. And their commitments like I'm committed to taking responsibility and not blaming, right? You want to keep a relationship from going sour, just refuse to blame anybody for what's going on. Just don't do it. I'm not, even though it looks like it's your fault, I'm not going to blame. I'm going to wonder, how are we co-creating this? Like, what am I doing? What's my part? I'm just not going to point the finger. It's just right. So I would say that to that couple, get really clear on the guidelines or the blueprint, the way in which you want to do your relationship. Because we all drift, we all, our egos get involved and we slip and we start to blame or we start to maybe withhold something. We're afraid of letting someone know that we're feeling something, right? But if we have these commitments, they sort of call us back to, nope, this is the way, this is the way we do it here. Like a quick example. You might not believe it, but once in a while, my wife gets mad at me because I'm an idiot. Okay. I know it's incredible to believe that, but it does happen.
Okay.
She's the type of personality when she gets upset, she's not confrontational. She'll just want to get up and leave the room. If I'm pissing her off, she'll just walk away. Now, that's happened. And as that's happened, I'll just yell out, "Hey, sweetheart, we don't do that here. We don't walk away when we're mad. Come sit. Let's talk. I'll listen because chances are I'm getting some feedback on something that I'm doing that is a problem, right? So it's like we challenge it. We don't do that here, right? We don't blame here. We don't walk away when we're mad here, right? We're committed to working through things. So that's what I would say is kind of get clear on the things that really make your relationship work.
Okay. Uh, Roy, this has been incredible. We could go on for several more hours probably, but I just
Yeah.
want to mention again the book, Relationship Boot Camp, Hardcore Training for Life, Love, and the Pursuit of Intimacy. Roy, you are a coach. How can folks learn about you, get a hold of you, your social media resources? Where can they find your books?
Yeah. Well, they're all on Amazon. Easy to find. My website is the best way. It's real. I hope it's easy to remember. That's why I chose it. Coachingwithroy.com. And on there, I mean, my cell phone's on the homepage, right? All my contact info, there's stuff there. But also at coachingwithroy.com, I have created something called the relationship fitness self-assessment test. Right. So
Okay.
we're talking about getting in good relationship shape. Well, maybe it might be good to find out, like, okay, what is my current relationship fitness level? Right. If you went to the gym and you hired a personal trainer, the first thing they're going to do is run you through a bunch of assessments to see what they're working with here. And once they know your current fitness level, they'll put a plan together to help you get in shape, right? Well, that's what I do. We want to get in great relationship shape. Well, what are we starting with? Right? I mean, and I tell people, don't be surprised if the test tells you that you're human and you need to get in better shape. So don't be surprised if you don't get the greatest results in the world, right? That maybe you need to get some of these muscles a bit stronger. So all of that is right on the homepage of coachingwithroy.com.
Okay, and I'll be sure to put a link to Roy's webpage and his books on Amazon and all his social media handles and everything. Roy, this has been incredible. I always thought about, my spiritual muscles, my psychological
Right.
muscles, my obviously physical muscles, my chest, my bicep. Oh, that's an obvious one. Never once did I think about my relationship muscles. So much of what you
Yeah.
guys said today has
And
really resonated with me
that
personally.
is that I appreciate that. And that's such an important insight because our relational lives, if they're not the most important thing, they're really up there. I mean, it's a real blind spot not to work on your relationship muscles, given how important our sibling relationships and friendships and intimate
Yeah,
relationships
yeah, there's
are,
different
right?
relationships. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
not all
Oh, work
relationships.
stuff. Oh,
Yeah,
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 yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
Great. Well, thanks for having me. This has been great.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, for the listener, develop those relationship muscles. Reach out to Roy. You can check out the links on the show notes for access to his books. Roy, very quickly before we sign off, for the good of the order, any last parting words or anything that you haven't said already, or
Just want to reiterate your love life. It's not about finding the right person. It's about becoming and being the right person. Change your focus from where do I find them to am I ready for something real?
that's huge.
And then call
That's
me
the
when
whole
you
show
find
right
out
there.
you need some help because most people do. I know I did. I still do. Geez. Yeah.
That's huge. All right. Well, Roy, thank you so much. And again, to all the listeners, I truly appreciate you being here and listening. And if you've come this far to the end, I always like to give you a free gift. So the word of the day is relationship. So just DM me that word relationship on my Instagram, Training with Coach Brad, or you can email me info@trainingwithcoachbrad.com. I will send you a free copy of my Walking for Health program. It's got tons of good stuff, completely free. It's valued at several $100s, probably several thousand with all the R&D, research and development that has gone into it. So it's yours completely free for listening to this and just messaging me that word relationship. Roy, thank you very much again. It has been a true pleasure. And the listener, again, thank you. And wherever you are, make sure you hit that subscribe button to the Be Well, Be Safe, Be Happy, Eat Ice Cream podcast. Leave me that 5-star review. And until next time, I always say, be well, be safe, be happy, eat ice cream. Take care, everyone. Thank you. We'll see you next time.